24-year-old Mrs. Amina Cohn, soon after her wedding, had moved with her husband Kwame from Ghana to the United States. Like most traditional African mothers-in-law, Kwame's mother had one strong wish: that Amina should become a mother within the very first year of her marriage. Luckily, Amina too was happy in her married life and deeply in love with her husband. But this happiness was suddenly shaken when Kwame, while working for an African-owned IT consultancy firm in America, made a huge mistake and lost one of the company's biggest clients. Amina knew her husband was deeply disturbed about it. After all, this Ghanaian-owned company, Afrotech Consulting, had recognized Kwame's talent in Dubai and had sponsored his US work visa. The company's owner, Mr. Ibrahim Diop, had just returned from Senegal the previous evening. The moment he landed, he called Kwame and asked him to come to his home the next day, during lunch break. The call itself was enough for Kwame to believe this would not just be the first, but also the last meeting he would ever have with his boss. He was convinced he would be dismissed for his blunder. The next morning, as Kwame left for work, his worry had multiplied. On the other side, his beautiful and loyal wife Amina sat at the study table in their small US apartment, dressed in a white blouse and dark capri pants. Her chin rested on her palm as she thought deeply. Kwame has been living in constant fear these last weeks, she reflected. He believes Mr. Diop will certainly fire him for losing such a big account, but maybe it won't come to that. Maybe his boss will only warn him instead. Yet she also knew that if Kwame did lose his job, it would be disastrous. Their green card sponsorship was still pending, entirely dependent on Afrotech. Without the job, they might not even be able to remain in the US. Lost in these heavy thoughts, her eyes suddenly fell on a slip of paper lying on the table. Kwame had scribbled Mr. Diop's home address and phone number on it the previous night. As she stared at it, she recalled Kwame once saying, "I've heard Mr. Diop is a kind-hearted man, someone who always helps others." Amina thought, if that's true, then why don't I try to meet him before Kwame does? Maybe I can explain to him how sorry Kwame is and plead for mercy. But another fear immediately followed. What if my going there annoys him even more? What if instead of helping, I make things worse for Kwame? The thought of losing everything pressed heavily on her, but she finally decided, whatever happens, happens. I must at least try. With trembling hands, she dialed the number on the slip. After a few rings, a man's voice answered. She introduced herself nervously. "Hello, Mr. Diop. My name is Mrs. Amina Cohn, wife of Kwame, who works in your company Afrotech Kwame Cohn," the voice asked in French-accented English. "The same Kwame with whom I have a meeting this afternoon?" "Yes, sir, the same," she replied quickly. "Well then, tell me, how can I help you?" Ibrahim asked, this time in Wolof-accented African English. "Sir, please, one request," Amina said, now in her soft African accent. "Please don't tell Kwame I called you. I just wish to see you before his meeting, to explain how terribly guilty he feels about the mistake. He is broken with worry." There was silence for a moment. Then Ibrahim responded, "All right, if you can reach my home within an hour, I will wait for you." "I'll be there," Amina said immediately, before hanging up. She rushed to the shower, freshened up quickly, then dressed in a long, elegant African dress. Standing before the mirror, she whispered to herself, "Do I look presentable? I need to make a good impression." She checked the address on Google Maps, grabbed her car keys, and drove towards Ibrahim's residence. But throughout the drive, fear gripped her heart. What if I ruin Kwame's chances instead of saving them? Still, she did not turn back. Soon, she parked in front of a large African-styled villa. Taking a deep breath, she walked towards the main door. With shaky hands, she knocked. Moments later, the door opened. Standing there was a tall, well-built man in his 40s, dressed in casual African attire. His presence radiated confidence. "Mr. Diop, I'm Amina Cohn, Kwame's wife. Thank you for giving me this time," she said with a nervous smile. Ah, Mrs. Cone. Ibrahim smiled warmly, stepping aside. Please, come in. She followed him into the drawing room, observing its neat African modern setting. A large leather sofa sat at one side, a glass table in front of it, and two wooden chairs with a small side table at the other end. She sat on one of the chairs, while Ibrahim settled opposite her. I'm glad to finally meet you, Ibrahim said, looking at her intently. Kwame is indeed a fortunate man. Not every husband has a wife as beautiful and as concerned as you. Now, tell me, what troubles you so much? Amina's voice trembled as she began. Sir, I came only to speak on behalf of my husband. He made a mistake, yes, and the company may have suffered, but he is deeply ashamed. He has not slept properly for weeks. He told me you are a man who forgives, and I believe him. That is why I came here, to beg you to give him one more chance. Her eyes filled with tears as she spoke. Soon, unable to hold them back, she broke down and covered her face with her hands, sobbing like a child. She wept not just for Kwame's mistake, but also for the heavy burden on their shoulders. Only 2 weeks earlier, they had made the down payment for their first home in the US. If Kwame lost his job now, their financial world would collapse. Suddenly, she felt a firm hand rest gently on her shoulder. She looked back and saw Ibrahim standing behind her, trying to console her. Startled, she brushed his hand off, not comfortable with the gesture. Ibrahim did not like her reaction, but he quietly returned to his seat. Still wiping her tears, Amina looked at him once more. Please, sir, is there any way Kwame can be spared? Just one more chance, I beg you. Ibrahim leaned forward, locking eyes with her. Yes, there is one way, but… He paused, letting the silence grow heavy. But what, sir? Please tell me, she urged desperately. With a smile that chilled her, Ibrahim finally said, You must become my friend. Amina froze. Her eyes widened as though she had been struck by lightning. My friend? What do you mean by that? She asked, voice trembling. Ibrahim leaned back in his chair, folding his hands calmly. Come now, Mrs. Cone. You are no child. You know very well what I mean. If you become close to me, closer than just your husband's wife, then I can ensure Kwame keeps his job. Otherwise… He let his words trail off, his eyes sharp as a blade. Amina felt her body stiffen. Her heart pounded painfully against her chest. She had come to beg for her husband's livelihood, believing the stories Kwame told about Ibrahim being a fair, forgiving man. And yet, here he was, revealing a side so dark that it shattered her faith. No, she whispered firmly, shaking her head. I cannot do that. I have only ever loved my husband. I cannot betray him this way. Ibrahim leaned forward. His voice dropped to a low, threatening whisper. Think carefully, Mrs. Cone. Your husband has already lost us a major client. The damage is heavy. If I fire him today, he won't find another job easily. His work visa depends on my company. If I let him go, both of you will have only 30 days to leave the United States and return to Ghana. Do you want that future? Amina's eyes filled with tears again. She clasped her hands tightly together. Please, sir, I am begging you, show mercy. Kwame made a mistake, yes, but he is hard-working, and he will never fail you again. Ibrahim shook his head. I am a businessman, Amina. Nothing in life is free. If you want me to save Kwame, then give me something in return. The room felt suffocating. Amina sat frozen, caught between her morals and the terrifying consequences Ibrahim had laid before her. She remembered the house she and Kwame had just bought, the money already spent, their dreams of building a life in America. If Kwame was dismissed, not only would they lose the house, but they would be forced to return to Ghana in shame and financial ruin. Her mind spiraled. If I refuse, Kwame's career is over. Our life here is over. But if I accept, how can I live with myself? How can I look Kwame in the eyes again? Her tears returned, falling uncontrollably. Ibrahim watched her, a cruel patience on his face. At last, through trembling lips, she whispered, "Sir, what you are asking of me is impossible. Please let me go." She stood to leave, but Ibrahim raised his hand slightly, stopping her. His tone hardened. "Think well, Amina. If you walk out of that door now, Kwame will have his dismissal letter in his hands before the sun sets today, and then you will both be on the next flight back to Africa, broke and humiliated." The words stabbed her like knives. Amina sank back into the chair, head bowed, tears streaming. The silence in the room grew thick. Amina's chest rose and fell rapidly, as though she were trapped in invisible chains. Ibrahim leaned back, confident, waiting for her answer. Her mind drifted back to her days at university in Ghana. She remembered how many of her classmates had boyfriends, how easily they gave their hearts away before marriage. She had never done such a thing. She had saved herself, believing love and loyalty should belong to her husband alone. But now, here she was, facing the possibility of losing everything: her husband's job, their dream home, their future in America. If those girls could give themselves so easily, then why can't I do this one thing for my husband's survival, for our future? The poisonous thought crept into her mind, wrapping around her desperation. She clenched her fists. This isn't love, this is sacrifice. I am not doing it for me. I am doing it for Kwame, so his life does not collapse. At last, with heavy breath and trembling voice, Amina lifted her head and looked Ibrahim in the eyes. Her face was pale, her spirit crushed, but her words came out steady. "Fine. I will do as you say." A slow smile spread across Ibrahim's lips. He had won. But inside, Amina's heart shattered. She felt like a prisoner signing away her freedom. Her loyalty, her dignity, everything she valued as a wife had been stripped by this cruel test of fate. As the sun shone outside Ibrahim's villa, the bright light felt bitter to her. For though she was still free to walk out the door, in her heart she was chained by the decision she had just made. Amina whispered to herself, as though confessing to the silent walls of the room, "May God forgive me. I am doing this only to save Kwame." And so the story that had begun with love and hope in a foreign land now stood at the edge of betrayal and sacrifice, an African wife torn between her morals and her husband's survival. That afternoon, Kwame left his office in nervous silence and drove to his boss's house, heart pounding with fear of dismissal. He rehearsed in his head 100 apologies, not knowing what awaited him. When he arrived, Ibrahim welcomed him with a calm smile. "Ah, Kwame, my boy, sit down," Ibrahim said, as though nothing was wrong. Kwame sat, his palms sweating. "Sir, I know I failed the company. Please, I beg you, give me one more chance. I will never repeat my mistake." Ibrahim looked at him for a long moment, then chuckled lightly. "You have worried too much, Kwame. I wasn't going to fire you. Mistakes happen. I only wanted to warn you to be more careful in the future." Kwame's eyes widened in disbelief. Relief flooded him like water to a thirsty man. "Thank you, sir, thank you." Ibrahim leaned back and waved his hand. "Go on, my boy. Focus on your work. Don't let fear paralyze you." Kwame left the villa, his heart light again, unaware of the storm brewing in his own home. That evening, Amina waited for him. She forced a smile, but her eyes betrayed the shadows in her heart. Kwame entered, smiling for the first time in weeks. "Amina, you won't believe it. Mr. Diop forgave me. He said he was only going to warn me." Amina's smile faltered, her knees weakened. The truth crashed down upon her like thunder. Ibrahim had never intended to fire Kwame. All the threats, all the pressure, it had all been a trap, a wicked game to exploit her fear. Inside, Amina screamed. She had sacrificed her dignity, her loyalty, for nothing. Kwame wrapped his arms around her joyfully, thanking her for her prayers and support. Amina buried her face in his chest, her tears hidden. That night, as Kwame slept peacefully beside her, Amina lay awake, staring into the darkness. Her soul felt bruised, her heart chained by a secret she could never tell. In the weeks that followed, Kwame worked harder than ever, grateful for the mercy of his boss. But Amina carried a burden he never knew. Each time Kwame looked at her with love, her heart ached. Each time he spoke of building a bright future together, guilt burned her like fire. She had saved her husband's job, yes. But at what cost? The cruelest truth was this: Kwame had never truly been in danger. His boss had only wished to frighten him. And Amina, blinded by love and desperation, had fallen into a trap that scarred her forever. In the end, the marriage survived in the world's eyes, but in Amina's heart, something pure had died. Fear and desperation can lead even the most loyal hearts to sacrifice what should never be bargained. True trials in life are not only about money or survival, but about holding on to one's dignity when tested by deceitful power.